the Maplewood Community Design Review Board. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2020, 6 o'clock p.m. Next thing is the roll call, and we have everyone here except for Bruce Thompson. We have a quorum. We can go ahead and continue with our meeting and conduct all our business. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Staff, anything to change on that?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the agenda as presented.
Anything from the board?
Nope. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the August 18th, 2020 Community Design Review Board meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That looks like it's unanimous to me. We will move on. Approval of the minutes from our meeting of May 19th, 2020. Staff, anything?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the minutes as presented.
Anything from the board?
I would move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Okay. I'll second. Jason, you go ahead and second it.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Great. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call that to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Sounds like it's unanimous again. Next item is design review and comprehensive sign plan, Wood Spring Suites, 1744 County Road D East. Staff, report, please.
Chair and board, thank you. I'm going to bring up my some slides here to walk us through our discussion here. I'm confirming, just confirm for me, you can see the slides or the screen there?
Got it.
Okay, great. So again, we're looking at 1744 County Road D East. This is within the Legacy Village planned unit development. This is actually the last remaining vacant site within Legacy Village. A new hotel, 126 room hotel is being proposed for this site. The original planned unit development, the PUD, for Legacy Village designated this site as retail/commercial. The applicant is seeking an amendment to have the site plan approved as part of the planned unit development, and what the design board will be looking at tonight is the site plan itself and along with the design of the building. So as mentioned, requesting approval, the applicant is seeking from this group design review and a comprehensive sign plan. Later tonight, the Planning Commission will be looking at this project from a planned unit development standpoint. Current controls of the property, the 2040 comprehensive plan does guide this site as commercial, and the zoning again is that planned unit development, PUD. As I mentioned, the site is currently vacant. What was approved in the past was a shopping center, was approved in 2008. Speaking of that shopping center in 2008, it was approved with a front yard setback for the building of 83 feet. The original plan unit development envisioned a 15-foot building setback for this site. For those who were on the CDRB in 2008 might remember what came up in 2008 was a desire to have a drive-through, and circulation through the site was required that extended setback. The hotel before you tonight is seeking again another revised setback, but landing closer to the street, not quite 15 feet obviously, but looking at 68 feet for a setback from County Road D. The site is meeting the minimum minimum parking count. In Maplewood, a hotel is required to provide one parking space per room, and that's the number of spaces the applicant has provided on the site plan. Another consideration of the planned unit development where flexibility can be granted by the City Council. The applicant is seeking flexibility on the minimum width requirement of those parking stalls. Maplewood requires 9.5 as a minimum for low turnover parking spaces, and the applicant is seeking a 9-foot wide parking space. Staff is comfortable with that request. Generally, Maplewood regulates its parking width based on turnover of a commercial use. And we do believe a hotel is a fairly low turnover use. So we are comfortable again with that 9-foot wide parking stall. The site plan itself, as you can see on the screen, the site will be accessed for 2 drives on the west side of the site, and circling where those 2 drive access points are located. This site was always intended to be accessed from the west side of the site. You can tell how where the median is located on County Road D, that pushes traffic further west to be accessed on this street right here. When legacy development as a whole was planned out, the county was involved in determining where those access points to legacy development, legacy village development would be located. A couple site plan issues that we did identify and that we're continuing to work with the applicant will have buttoned up by the time we go to the city council, is that the parking lot itself on County Road D is required to have a 15-foot setback, and that we're working again with the applicant to add additional sidewalk segments. They currently show a connection to County Road D where there's an existing sidewalk. They also show a partial sidewalk on the west side of the site that we're asking gets continued all the way up to D. And then we're looking for at least a segment connecting along Village Trail on the south. And again, the plan unit development has a tree requirement along Village Trail for a tree to be every 30 to 40 feet, again, on the south side of the site. So we're working with the applicant to get that included on their plans. Excuse me. The elevations themselves, the building would be just shy of 47 feet at its highest peak. The hotel building was designed to blend in with nearby residential architecture. So that includes that pitched roof with asphalt shingles. The first floor would be covered with a brick facade, and the remaining floors. So this is a 4-story building. So the remaining 3 stories would be covered with a lap siding, and that lap siding would have 3 different colors. The final piece of your review tonight includes that comprehensive sign plan. The Legacy Village Plan Unit Development did state that it prohibits freestanding signs, but permits monument signs. So the applicant did submit a sign package as part of the plans. Staff is recommending that 2 monument signs be allowed along County Road D, and that even though the applicant requested 4 wall signs, or at least showed that on their plans, staff is comfortable with 2 wall signs that meet the size requirements and that's stated in city code on the north and east elevations, and that would keep signage off the elevations that face the residential properties to the west and south. Neighborhood surveys were sent to 80 property owners within 500 feet of this site. We did receive 7 responses that you had the ability to read through in your staff report. Again, this group and the Planning Commission, as mentioned, will be reviewing the project tonight, and the City Council will review and make final decisions at a meeting in September. So with that, staff is available for any questions that the board may have, and also the applicant is present. I can stand for questions.
Got a question about parking spaces.
Sure.
I didn't bother to count up everything on my diagram, but is there like exactly 126 parking spaces?
Chair and board, correct. Yep, the site plan contains 126 spaces.
Okay. Where are the employees supposed to park if they were to have full occupancy?
Chair and board, the city code does not make any additional parking requirements for a hotel, saying 1 per room plus parking for a hotel. So, full occupancy would assume that there would be occupants there that shared a car to get there, did not took a other mode of transportation. But yeah, the code does not require them to provide any additional parking above the 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay. How many parking spaces could they have if they complied with our code on parking space width?
Chair and board, less, but I don't know that number specifically.
Okay. I'm not very in favor of reducing our the width of the parking spaces. And I don't know what they can do to find more parking there. But I don't feel comfortable with that. For one thing, it's, it kind of sets a precedent for other businesses in the area that they can get a waiver on the width. And I think that's one of the good things about Maplewood is that we have wide parking spaces. Maplewood, the land of less door dings.
The only thing that I would note to that that comment, and my perspective, having stayed in a number of hotels, is that a lot of people, when they pull up to a hotel, they will pull up to the front entrance. They'll unload their bags and all of the passengers, and oftentimes it's just the driver going back to park the vehicle in a parking stall. And that there's not necessarily like a retail application where they're loading and unloading and everybody is entering and exiting the vehicle in the parking stall position.
I have a question for staff. What has been the experience with other hotels in terms of the parking requirement? Do we have problems with underparked facilities?
Chair and board, with hotels specifically, no, there has not been any parking issues related to the few hotels that are in the city of Maplewood. So no, that's never been an issue that has rose up of concern.
Anant, I think you're speaking, but you might be muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. How is the parking stall width measured from center of striping to center of striping, or clear of the striping?
Chair and board, the code does not get to that level of detail. So how I would measure it is center to center of the striping itself. But if the applicant, I saw kind of a head nod in agreement, but if there's a different way that they design the plan, they could interject, but the code doesn't specify, but past practice is center to center.
Is the applicant able to accommodate the 9 feet clear? I believe it's a 4-inch wide, or is it a 6-inch wide striping? What do they use? Doesn't matter?
It's typically a 4-inch striping on center.
Is the applicant able to accommodate 9 feet clear of the striping?
We'd have to add up what that extra distance is along the 300-foot length of the parking lot, but it would have an impact on the side and front and rear setbacks.
Okay.
Where would the trash be stored?
Chair and board, on the southeast corner of the site plan, you do see a trash enclosure noted.
Mike, did a number of the residents commented that access to the site would be best served from Bittersweet? Was that looked at all? I know that currently, as you mentioned, the median is not configured for access left in to Bittersweet. Can that be readily changed, or is that kind of written in stone?
Chair and board, so anything with the county right-of-way is at the behest of the county, and any project that's on a county right-of-way, we do forward for them and seek any comments that they may have. And they did not have any specific comments, but we did talk about that issue. And like I mentioned during the presentation, the city worked with the county originally to determine where those spacing points were. And the county is pretty regimented on their right-of-way. And so that is not something that they're willing to entertain in changing an access at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it would work anyway because you got a stoplight at South Lawn and County Road D, and you're going to end up with cars, really stacked up, trying to turn south into the parking lot, and I would think that most of the traffic going into that place would be coming from the east. Hey, I noticed something else that maybe staff could take a look at and fix before it goes before council. Your directions are incorrect on page E1 of the proposal. That Ashley Furniture is to the east and not to the south. The two townhouse developments, I don't know which is correct. When I was out there today, I forgot to take a look at that. But I know that Ashley is in the wrong location on the surrounding land uses paragraph of page.
Which drawing number are you referring to?
No, I'm talking about the proposal, or
Yeah, I know, but which sheet?
that would be page packet number 14 out of 45. It also says E1 at the top. Okay.
Chair and Commission, E1 is the agenda item.
Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, we can fix the typo. No problem. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's going to put the brakes on anything here, but and I don't know if the city council is actually going to go out and take a look at it anyway, but it'd be nice to have that correct.
Does the staff have any concerns that both the entries are on the west side, so close to each other? So somebody pulls in and there's no parking, they got to drive all the way around the hotel to find parking on the other side?
Chair and Commission. So yeah, staff, including the engineering staff, obviously have reviewed this project. And as far as the access spacing, no, there's not a concern. We don't expect this to be a high traffic generator on a given day. So it's going to be, for commercial use, fairly low traffic at any given time. So the circulation both within the site and whatever might spill out into Flandrell, which is a private street, just as note, to the west, is not a concern at this time.
Board, any more comments? I guess somebody was about to speak, so.
How elevated is 694 from the grade of the hotel?
Chair and Commissioner, I don't have those numbers. I mean, I know whenever we look at a project in this area, we know 694 is higher, but this is obviously a taller building than others that we've reviewed. I could get the elevations. I don't have those offhand.
So they have the nice brick on the lowest floor, and you're not even going to be seeing that brick if you're driving on 694. So I have some concerns that the north elevation, the one facing 694, needs to be dressed up a little bit more. That's the one that's going to be seen by everybody.
Do we have a presentation from the applicant on the elevations?
Chair and board, so the applicant's present, they don't have a formal presentation, but they're able to talk about their project and answer any questions directly. So Chair, with your direction, Pete and Brian are here from the design team.
Yes, thank you, Chair and Board. My name's Pete, engineer on the team, and I can share my screen to show the requested elevation renderings.
Yeah, I will. You should be allowed to share now, Pete.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Is it coming up now?
Yep.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Let me know if there's a specific. This is the front and right elevation, or what would be the west on this site.
This is the one, this face is not facing 694, is that correct?
The top one is facing 694, correct. It's facing north.
What, it says front elevation. I thought the front of the hotel was facing south.
No, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the front facing County Road D facing north.
That is correct, yes.
Oh, okay. Then, okay, you want to finish your presentation, then I can comment.
Sure. So that this would be the north or front elevation, and then this page is the rear or south elevation that faces Village Trail. There's also a few 3D model type renderings to give you another perspective.
Okay, other board members chime in, but I'm concerned with this front north elevation. As they say, they got the brick down there, but 694 is elevated. You're not even going to see that wonderful brick that you have shown in the base over there. So my suggestion is that that center bay, which says Spring Suites or whatever, that whole thing be brick, and also the two stair towers on each end, the east and the west end, be brick.
I had the same thought relative to the use of the brick on the building. Yeah, it needs more variation vertically as far as the masonry is concerned.
I don't think we want to make it too pretty because we want the people on the highway to be watching where they're going.
We want good occupancy in Maplewood, though. I do think that would have a tremendous impact, those three locations, Matt and Ananth, as far as really making a powerful impact on the facade of this building.
Yeah, that's what I think.
When we originally just came up with the design, we kind of looked at the surrounding areas and provided a lot of the elements that the surrounding areas were providing, which were, for the most part, one layer of a stone or brick material, and then above that, a hardy material.
Yeah, I appreciate that, except that there's a great elevation change here. And your expensive material down there on the lowest level is not even going to be seen. Plus, you have some landscaping there, I think.
Also, the buildings to the east and north have they have brick all the way, all the way up. So the Ashley Furniture is basically a brick building. And I guess I don't quite Slumberland. Yeah, thank you. Well, I guess there's variation in the brick on. I was looking at the back of Ashley is pretty much brick, and I see they're using different materials in the front. But one of my strong concerns relates to the scale of the building in relation to the surrounding buildings. We have a 4-story building, and the adjacent residential structures are 2-story, if I'm not mistaken, and pretty similar with the other commercial buildings there. So I'm having a hard time seeing how a 4-story building fits in with this neighborhood. I think 3 would work, but I'm not convinced that 4 stories works for this site. So I don't know, what others think about that. One of the other, the other detail was the pitched roof, and these the roofs, the pitch that is used on the hotel is a much lower pitch than the roofs for the residential structures. So I would also recommend that that the pitch of this of this roof be, match the existing neighborhood.
Staff, I got a question in response just to one of Matt's comments there. So to the, I guess it would be the west of this site, maybe 2 years ago, we approved some apartment complex, multifamily or higher density apartments. Do you know what offhand how many stories those 3 buildings were? They're just to the west of Kennard.
Yeah, Chair and Board, that's Conifer Ridge, and those were 3-story apartment buildings.
Okay, I know that was a pretty heavily wooded area, so there's a lot of trees already that are really established in the middle of this.
Yeah, and so the city for commercial buildings, there is not a height limit. What does come in play is that the taller the building, the greater the setbacks are, and those setbacks have been met for this site, considering the height of the building.
I don't have any problem with it being a 4-story building, and I also have no problem with the pitch of the roof. I wouldn't want to see the roof pitched any steeper than that because it just makes the building taller.
Right, I understand that's that works against the height concern, but I don't know. I guess if we're trying to match the character of the neighborhood. I think that the roof pitch is an important factor there. Mike, am I correct about the neighboring, the adjoining properties and the buildings, the residential buildings? They are 2-story. Am I correct?
Yeah, Chair and Board. So both projects that have been just referenced by Board Member Levina and Board Member Lamers are within the Legacy Village PUD. So there's varying heights within the PUD of residential, but the attached townhomes are 2-story above ground. They're depending on which elevation you are, they're almost 2.5 on some sides because the garage tucks under in the back of the homes. But yeah, when you're at the front of those homes, they give the appearance of a 2-story structure.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that that blending in to the neighborhood necessarily means you have to have the same roof pitch. I think we can have a little variety, and I think that this one looks okay for the area. And question for the applicant: is there anything you can do about the parking to bring those up to 9.5 feet in width? Is there something you can let go to accomplish that?
Yes, thank you for the question. We can look at what that would take. The 1/2 foot additional over all 4 sides at 300 feet long. I mean, I'd have to do the math, but just roughly the magnitude's probably 10 plus parking spaces that would impact to not hit the 1-to-1 room requirement that we're striving for. And just with fitting in with all the increased setbacks and trying to provide enough green space, it is a tight fit for the site currently that we've done what we could. The main reason, driving that shorter width is it's low turnover stalls, and we were trying to increase the amount of setback and green space that could be provided. So.
Board, any other comments? Anybody?
What's the aisle width, driving aisle width between the parking stalls?
It's at the code
24.
minimum 24 feet.
So if you're not able to widen the parking stalls, are you able to make the 24 feet 26 feet?
2 inches around.
It's a possibility. It would add 4 feet in the length, north to south on the site. The issue it creates is providing room for the requested additional sidewalk on the south side of the site along Village Trail and keeping enough space for a row of trees there.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you. Is there what's the ordinance on the depth of the parking space?
Chair and commission 18 feet, which is represented on the applicant's
I
plans.
see that. Yep. Okay. Does somebody care to make a motion then?
We'll take a stab at it. Which page are we looking at here?
I believe 18.
Yes. Chair and commission, I think it was just mentioned, but you are looking at the design review and comprehensive plan, comprehensive sign plan resolution that starts on page 18 of 45 on in your packet. The conditions themselves start on page 19 and run through page 20.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the plans for Wood Spring Suites Hotel based upon staff recommendations, page 19, section 3.01.1, 1 through 8, and through 9, and I'm going to add, I guess, number 11, saying that the applicant shall provide brick on the north face of the building, in the center bay, and on the stair towers on the east and west sides, extending all the way up to the roof. And
Side.
And I'm also going to add number 12, saying that the applicant shall widen the drive aisles on the north and south sides from 24 feet to 26 feet.
Okay, we have a motion. Does anyone care to second that? I would like to offer a friendly amendment that we leave the drive aisle alone at 24 because I think it's going to impact the very minimum amount of green space that they can provide.
I would agree with that friendly amendment, that the parking plan as drawn based on the turnover of a hotel parking lot, we would want to maximize green space around the neighborhood for the residents that live in this area.
Okay, that'd be up to a non to accept that, being that it's a friendly amendment.
I can accept it. The only reason I was suggesting, because I was hearing concerns about the 9.5 feet parking stall width. And I thought one way to alleviate that concern was to make the dry aisles. So you tell me, what is your bigger concern? The greenery on the edges or the 9.5 feet that you want for your parking width?
I want them both.
Well, you're not going to get both.
I know, but I don't think that widening the drive aisle to 26 feet is going to accomplish that. I don't think it's going to make parking spaces any wider.
Anant, I would say that Bill was asking some qualifying questions for the designers and the city staff to be able to provide feedback on feasibility for widening the stalls. And I think that the important element here, my perspective is that we maximize the green space and the vegetation around the site to soften the edges of the site, particularly with it being a 4-story building. So I would second with the friendly motion just to have your item number 11 and strike number 12 from the motion.
Okay, I will go along with that, having heard from both of you that you feel comfortable that the circulation of vehicles will work.
I have a question. Anant, you indicated in the center bay, just on the north elevation. Of course, you have the dormer kind of design on the south elevation. I'm sorry, yeah, on the south elevation. Did you want to repeat that on the south elevation as well with the brick? The brick extending all the way up.
I was not so particular about the south elevation, but I think that makes sense. Yes, I will go ahead and make that amended suggestion that the center bay on both the north and the south bay shall be brick all the way up.
I think it would add a nice element too and improve the aesthetic from that side as well.
Yes, I agree.
I accept that amendment.
Then Jason, you made the second on this.
Yes.
So then now it is moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. Well, then I think we're ready to take a vote on it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is that unanimous or anyone saying no?
No, I'm going to say nay on this. I do believe that the 4-story building is out of character for the area, considering the 2-story residential and so close to this building. I do think that we've really strived to have some commonality in the design within Legacy Village, and I think that can be accomplished to a degree by matching the pitch of the roof. So I think I do think that's an important element. I think I think those two factors are things that should be modified with the design.
Okay, thank you. But we do have 3 ayes and 1 nay. So the motion does carry. This goes now, planning. Do they take care of it now after this?
Chair and board, correct. Planning Commission looks at it and holds a public hearing later tonight. And then the city council ultimately makes any decisions at a meeting in September.
Okay. So they'll see everything that we've had to say. City council will anyway.
Yep.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, we got to start on this thing. Pete, I wish you luck with the project. So now, next item, if I can find my agenda, there it is number E2, design review, Maple Ridge Grocery and Convenience Stores, 2501 White Bear Avenue North. Staff report, please.
Great, thank you again, Chair and Board. Sharing again slides here to walk through our discussion. This item is back for your review with a revised elevation that you looked at on a building in May, and then also a new element for a separate building that already exists on the site. So again, this is for a Hy-Vee grocery store and convenience store that will be moving into the site. The grocery store component would be moving into the former Rainbow Foods building, and then the convenience store would be built on the east side of the site. So as I mentioned, the CDRB looked at this in May on the aspect of the convenience store building itself and the site improvements on site access improvements, both on White Bear Avenue and Jarvis Avenue. So tonight, with these two items that you'll be looking at, we're looking at design review. So for the main couple components that will be occurring on the main grocery store building, you can see that on site plan here. This is the former grocery store building that will continue to be a grocery store building with Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee is proposing to add a canopy over 10 parking spaces on the north side of the building. This would be to service its online pickup shopping component of the business. And then a pharmacy would be located with a canopy on to the southeast corner of the grocery building. For the main entrance itself, again to the existing building, Hy-Vee is proposing to remodel that entrance to include new wood, composite, and glass fiber, reinforced concrete rain screen paneling. Two different types of glasses will also be part of the main entrance. And then throughout the building elevations, you see a dark charcoal, metal flashing, and the glass components being used as accents, again, throughout the building itself. And then the existing masonry units would be freshly painted with a gray finish. So those are that's one component of what you're looking at, the improvements to the existing grocery store building. The second element is a follow-up from your May meeting where the board asked for revised elevation on the east side of the building. I do want to say the city council reviewed these elevations and the project itself for the convenience store in August and did provide approval to the project, again, subject to the CDRB looking at this east elevation. So you can see the east elevation here where some additional architectural elements have been added. So that's what we're looking for your comment on from tonight. I know I also emailed this out to the board prior to the city council's review in August. And then what will still carry through before any permits are issued is that requirement from the CDRB for additional landscaping to be added between this east elevation and White Bear Avenue. So pretty quick item here. I know we do have the applicant online as well, but I can stand for any questions that the board may have.
So we are really looking at two buildings, the Hy-Vee building and the other little building we reviewed a few months ago.
Correct. Yep. It's the improvements to the main grocery building and the revised east building elevation to the convenience store.
Are you able to zoom into that east elevation a little bit that you just showed, Mike?
I can give it a shot for sure. So let's go back here. I can pull up a different file if we need to, but this is just from the slide itself. So the resolution's not the greatest here, but this gives you an idea of what they're proposing to do. Get that off, sorry.
Well, my opinion is that big band on the top there in the middle is kind of clunky. What I would recommend is that the brick piers on the north and south side of that middle bay be extended all the way up. Are you understanding what I'm getting at?
Chairman Board, I understand, but yeah, looking for you to have your conversation as a board.
I would agree.
The way it exists does not bother me.
I think it would add to that facade with those two minor adjustments. So the band that goes across just above those windows, either Michael or the applicant, how is that detailed? That gray band that's just above those windows.
That'll stop between the two. The band will be less wide. It won't be as long as here because you're going to have the brick extending all the way up.
You would stop that band at the edges of the windows and then continue the brick up.
Yes.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Mike, I had a question about some of the discussion we had relative to the canopy. I think we talked about having the applicant extend the brick, the columns all the way up, as opposed to, half height or whatever it is. It doesn't appear that the revised elevation shows that. Was there additional discussion regarding that?
Sure, Chair and Commission. So what's being brought back to you is specifically what was requested to be brought back, and that was just the east elevation. So before we issue any permits, we would ensure those other requirements, like the landscaping I mentioned as well. Anything else that was discussed at May would be incorporated in the applicant's final plans before we issued permits. As far as the convenience store, we're only bringing back the element that was specifically asked to be brought back.
Okay. Was there additional discussion concerning the north and south elevations? I guess when we first look at this years ago, the conclusion, or at least the discussion, was that this building has 4 frontages, and that all elevations need to be carefully designed to make this building an attractive building for the setting. Was there additional discussion regarding the north and south elevation?
Chair and board, so from your commission or from your board meeting in May, only the east elevation was asked to be brought back. So nothing else was added, requested to be brought back on the north and south. And at the city council, no, there was not additional discussion on those 2 elevations as they were presented.
Okay.
Matt, I think that they were narrower in scope, in that this elevation that we're looking at right now is just so long. It was the longer elevation that impacted.
Right. No, we had there was a strong concern about the east elevation, and rightly so. And I think this is a nice improvement. I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is possible to open that up, but you see these narrow, or I guess the windows on the left and the right of the center bay. Perhaps those could be used, and I think those are kind of what might be called fake windows or whatever. But if those could be also added to the north and south elevations, I don't know if we can open that up. But again, my concerns are still present with this, with those elevations.
Chair and board, the concern is noted, but yeah, from staff's point of view, those other 3 elevations of the convenience store have been approved by the city council already. And that the east elevation was approved subject to the CDRB approving just the east elevation.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, since we're talking about the east elevation, what if I throw in one more thing here? You see on the east elevation, the extreme north edge and the south edge, there's some brick that goes up to the top of the windows. You see that?
Yep.
Huh?
What if that was extended all the way up to the parapet?
I don't think it would add much, and it might look a little clunky when you look at it from like the southeast, because you're going to have the brick that goes.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
But doesn't wrap around, because the south has already been approved, so we can't do anything.
I think that it's just too narrow of a band on the left side of that, Anant, and I would favor your original proposition of just focusing on that center bay and bringing that masonry up on the
what
right.
I was getting at, my original on the center bay, and do what I'm just suggesting.
Oh, I got you.
But I agree, you would have to wrap it. You can't just stop it on the east elevation. You would have to wrap on the north and south. So I guess.
Yeah,
I think maybe, okay, I'll leave that alone.
okay. I have no further questions on this elevation.
Okay. Anything else?
Is the board able to hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would ask that you at least call on the applicant to provide any
Applicant,
comment.
go ahead.
Good evening. This is Phil Hoy with Hy-Vee. Then going back to the canopy question, I know we're not talking about that this evening, but yes, we plan to wrap those columns in brick. With regards to the recommendation on the back of the building, I am not an architect, so you guys, this is what you guys do, is critique the elevations and with regards to the request to run the brick all the way up through that center element. I guess my comment back would be, as we look at the front elevation, we see a very horizontal design with several bump outs, varying materials, but you're really using sort of a horizontal type design and very linear. And I guess I would throw out there, I don't have a, it's not like it's a cost issue to run the brick all the way up on those two ends as you requested. But if you look at the design of this front of this building, sides, and even the food store itself, really have a linear type of a design in creating interest through different materials and different bump outs of elevation. So I guess that'd be my only comment back to it. So I guess for whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
None of the other elevations have any of those sort of horizontal or elements that this would then have if we threw the brick on that end and ran it all the way to the top of the roof feature.
Yeah, I understand you have a linear design going all the way around, but my intent is to spruce up the east elevation, which is the most visible from White Bear. And I do not see a need for that concept of the horizontal banding going all the way around. My only intent is how can I make the east elevation as pretty as it can be. That's all.
Sure. And we added the window features to again add another material element to that end of the building. So I'm not sure if we can accomplish what you're trying to by some other method to spruce up that east elevation. I'm simply just trying to maintain the sort of architectural flavor of the other three sides of the building, while at the same time understanding that this is the side of the building that faces White Bear, and so it's a very important elevation, a very visible elevation, and we need to be conscious of that as we design and keep it interesting.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I do not see a need for the concept on the west, north, and east, west, north, and south sides to continue on the east side.
Another point to make is if you look at the Hy-Vee, the front of the Hy-Vee building, there are three vertical elements that go from the ground to the top of the the structure there. So I think that this might even tie in better with what's presented for the Hy-Vee front elevation, based on what I see.
Matt, I would agree with that. Looking at them side by side now with the recommendation from Anant, I do agree.
Okay. Does this have to go for a vote or?
Yes, Chair and Board, we would be looking for a motion to be made.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to the applicant shall revise the east elevation to show the brick pilasters in the center bay of the east elevation be extended all the way up to the parapet.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
And Chair and Board, I just want to confirm that this would be with Mr. Shankar's addition, but also then incorporating the resolution in the staff report. So you're approving not just this east elevation, but also the other site improvements on the grocery store building.
Yeah, just to comment on that, I think the front facade of the Hy-Vee is well designed. I like the glass kind of two-story kind of look in the front. I think they've done a nice job with that, and should be a nice remodeling of that facade. So I guess I'm pleased with how that looks.
Are we moving to the Hy-Vee building now? I thought we were on the small building.
No, this is all together.
All together, so we should do the Hy-Vee building now.
Okay, I agree with your Matt comment that the center bay of the front elevation of the Hy-Vee is kind of exciting, but I'm still concerned about the blahness of the other. It's a long building and there's a lot of painted same color block over here. I would like to see at least the east elevation kind of a little bit more spruced up there.
So,
Mike, are we looking for two separate resolutions on the store and the second building, or?
Chair and Commission, the staff report's resolution is written so both buildings are in the same resolution. So that's why I was interjecting if you're making a motion, it should encompass the entire project here, both buildings.
okay.
And Anant, I understand what you're saying there. I guess I'm under the impression that, or you've got an existing building that's already built there. You can rebuild the entrance, but to do more to the main structure of the building is maybe a little more challenging. Not saying it can't be done, but so that's my thought on it. I didn't have.
What we're trying to do, I mean, it's exactly right. We're trying to take this building and trying to add some modernness to all. The main front side specifically, I guess, it's the most visible side, and that's where we put the most expense in terms of remodeling the front. I mean, we had initially didn't really plan to do anything to the building itself, and when we went into Plymouth, a similar size building, we didn't really change much at all. But we've recently made some modifications to our corporate design, and we wanted to incorporate that here, and that's really why you're looking at this for the first time now, and you didn't look at it before. Is this is pretty new. There's not a building that we built yet that has this design. This is just how we're doing them now. So we thought if we're going to come in and remodel the interior of the building, we probably need to take a look at the outside and see what we can do to make that look more like what Hy-Vees are going to look like as we go forward. And so, again, we focused on the front of the building. That's where we put the most of our remodel effort. But even on that south elevation, we added some spandrel glass and whatnot to try to add more than is there today, of course. But obviously, yeah, doing a whole lot of additional is going to be difficult to accomplish.
So I'm not suggesting adding any materials, guys. No. I'm just suggesting paint, that you add a stripe of paint to line up with that band that you have going between the pilasters. So it would be an accent paint.
So on the front elevation, that looks fantastic. There's 3 dark gray bands, one on the right side of the elevation, and then 2 of them to the left side of the elevation. Is that proposed in your proposal to be painted to draw attention to those?
Yeah, you see on the front elevation on the left side, you see a dark band above all that health and RX and all that. It's about a foot tall or whatever. Yeah. So I'm just talking about extending a paint and so breaking up the tall same color thing by 2 panels.
Are you talking on the back elevation, Anant? So the back elevation faces
I can show
west.
it here. You see it here?
Yep.
Here, there's that band.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just talking about painting and taking it over.
Is that actually a canopy though?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a canopy.
Okay, so that's a
But-
canopy.
It's a canopy, but it does offer an opportunity because you got something at that height there to introduce a band. The other option that I was thinking of is the 3 feet from the ground up as a base. Paint that the dark color to minimize this large light color panels. So
I like that idea better. I think to simulate kind of a base masonry or something.
yeah, so I could skin this cat 2 ways, either one.
Well, I'd be in favor of the second option. I don't know about putting a band in the middle of that light gray wall.
I don't like it either. So
I don't like that either.
Let me look at the east elevation of
I like the
small building. Doesn't that have a base? The
No.
first the small building we approved, the east elevation, I thought that had a base.
Well, it goes up like 8 feet or 9 feet. Goes up to the window height.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do with those vertical elements, the materials, the spandrel glass, is to break up the spans with a vertical element. I think adding a horizontal banding across the store would, just given the color scheme that we've chosen, would create a,
Okay.
without doing several of them, it'd be I think a different kind of look than what we're trying to accomplish with this remodel.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I'm agreeing with everybody that the banding at a height there is not going to do it. So I would prefer the.
So when I looked at these elevations, I actually liked the front elevation as it is. The side elevation that faces south, I think that would be elevation 4. Am I correct, Mike? That elevation 4 faces south. So that's going to be a pretty visible elevation because that's where everybody pulls into that side entrance to this site. Is there a way to, I know that you've got that band where that canopy will be over the pharmacy entrance, but that wall then continues past that, down the rest of that. Is there a way to incorporate that dark band that's on the front elevation in a couple spots on that elevation, on that south elevation? Because that's going to be the second most visible elevation. And I
think what we'd maybe suggest trying to do is kind of what we've done on the front elevation, where we introduce sort of those vertical elements to try to just break up maybe so right now I think it's showing the downspouts, which is and this vertical piece, and maybe we look at trying to add some other different vertical piece like we did on the front elevation and try to incorporate that somehow on this east side, because that canopy you mentioned is a bumped out different material, and I think just from the theme of the front with the vertical piece, we just I think we could throw that in there and see that would break that end up for you.
I like that idea.
And I'm not worried about the north side elevation because that's kind of, you don't see that one as much with that other building that's adjacent to it.
The other thing that I'm not really liking on the south elevation, number 4, is the fact that these vertical stripes are not, and there's a little gap between that and the windows. So those vertical stripes are not really engaging with, if those stripes were made wider and
Well,
they came to the edge of the windows, then it would be engaging them.
Yeah, I think those are the downspouts that are represented in those vertical stripes right now that you're looking at. Those are the rain downspouts.
Yeah, but
Yeah, they are, but we can look to try to incorporate that similar sort of vertical element from the front on that south elevation, and create some more interest on that end of the building.
I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I would support that as well.
I don't have any. I would motion. And there can be amendments to this, but I would motion to leave the front elevation, the rear elevation, the north elevation as drawn, and incorporate 2 or 3 based on the proper spacing of them, so they're proportional relative to the front elevation on that south elevation of the Hy-Vee structure. And then the second addition would be the a nonce addition of the brick on the gas station going up on that center portion. Michael, is that close enough?
Yep.
Technically?
Got it. Yep.
I'm not in favor of adding the brick on that smaller store.
Okay.
Can I get some clarity on that brick request? Was the request to add the brick all the way up from the bottom, from the ground to the top of the parapet? Was that total center section, or just was it the ends of that center section on the other side of the windows?
I interpreted it from the windows to the edge, from the edge of the window over and up.
Okay.
Right.
That's what I had thought. So I just wanted to make sure I
Whatever that
understood.
3 feet or 4 feet, whatever that dimension is.
Yep. Sure. Okay.
yeah, that's what.
So Chair, you do have a motion on the table here.
Yes, and do we have a second on whatever this motion is?
Well, the motion as I'm hearing it is we all agree on the extending the brick up to the top on the small building. And you want to leave the front elevation of the Hy-Vee alone, but you want to add some vertical bandings on the south elevation of the Hy-Vee store to kind of match the vertical banding on the front elevation to make the south elevation a little bit more expressive.
Exactly, because of the entrance on that side, and it's going to be a highly visible side.
Jason, do I take that to be a second?
Well, I was the motioner.
Well, we had 2 open motions at the time, but
So Anant, would you second my motion?
Yeah, I'm all tempted to second your motion, but I might say that I'm still in favor of doing something to the front elevation of Hy-Vee. I'm still not convinced it looks sparkly enough.
okay. Anant's motion was first. We did have a second on that. And then we have another motion by Jason, which is kind of similar but different in little ways. So maybe what we could do is take a vote on the Anant's motion. So does that sound okay with everybody? And then we can go. Then we can deal with Jason's.
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor of Anant's motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 1. Any nays?
I would say aye to Anant's motion.
I'm going to say nay.
I say aye.
Okay, that one carries. Now what do we do with Jason's motion? I think we have room for only 1.
But I think we have already taken care of Jason's concern about sprucing up the south elevation of the Hy-Vee, and we have gone a step further. He didn't want to do anything to the front elevation, and now we have added some things over there. So it's up to Jason, I guess. if you really feel that you don't need to do anything more to the front elevation of Hy-Vee.
Do you want to keep your motion, Jason, or do you want to withdraw that and go with the one that we've already passed?
I'm gonna hold on that, because I think if you put banding on the base, whether it's paint in that bottom, whatever, 3 or 4 or 5 feet, I think you would have to carry that around the other sides of the building to keep it consistent. And I don't think that I'm in favor of that addition to the front elevation. And then my view that you probably need to carry that around.
Well, I wasn't talking about the base, painting the base at the corners. I was just suggesting in 3 of the bays, you see between the Health RX
Yep.
and the vertical banding there, and then the vertical banding to the front of the thing.
Yep.
Also in that bay on the north side of the front entry to the vertical banding, but not that corner over there.
Not the corners.
Not the corners.
Okay. And I was under the impression it would go all the way to the end of the building. I would accept that motion. What would the height of that be, Anand, from the painting perspective?
3 feet.
3 feet.
Can I? I'm not sure I understand what the what's being asked.
Well, I can show you in if you can
Sure.
see this thing here. So you
Yep.
see this bay and this bay,
Yep.
and you see this bay.
Yep.
Paint from the ground 3 feet up, the dark color that matches this.
Matches that. That's
Yes.
Okay.
So that.
Okay, I don't think we already voted on that, so I think we would have to agree to discard that one and now go with the new amendment. Does that
Yeah, I
sound
can make
Mike?
another motion if you want me to.
Mike, can you give us some guidance on procedure on this?
Yeah, and just so you know, I only have a couple. If we're gonna continue discussion, we might have to come up with another meeting time. I'm 15 minutes late for planning commission, which is not your problem. That's our problem. But if you're looking to already redo a motion, then you should explicitly state that you're withdrawing what you've already approved.
I'll withdraw my motion.
restate it.
Do you want to take a stab at your motion?
I think I'll withdraw my first motion and make a second motion that on the small building, we extend the brick on the middle bay from the window to the edge there, all the way up to the parapet. And on the Hy-Vee store, we paint 3 bays of base 3 feet high in those 3 bays that I talked about. I don't know how to describe those things. 1, 2, and 3.
We have an understanding.
That's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Yes, I second that.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No. I'm going to vote against that because I don't like the brick on the smaller building. So, but the motion carries, and city council is going to know how we feel. So, let's move on then. The agenda, unfinished business. I hope not.
Nope,
Board presentations, staff presentations.
nothing further for you.
I will call for an adjournment. We all agree?
Agreed.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you,
All right,
everyone.
thanks everyone. Have a